After a long day of blowout wins, I was so ready to watch my Wildcats come in and give a great home opening. With Saban leaving the game for TV commercials.
How'd you guys get inside? 2 flush maximum per bathroom visit.
Mark Stoops is now the longest tenured coach in the SEC. It makes sense why. He has the most wins for a coach in UK history, and he is our only coach that has more wins than losses since Bear Bryant back in the 40s and 50s. Commonwealth Stadium was live and ready for their Cats. And then it started. Thunder delayed the game for the foreseeable future, but the old adage still rings true. If you don't like the weather in Kentucky, wait a bit and it'll change. And just like that, it did. The Cats finally came out at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and oh my god, they threw a pick on the first drive of the game! I knew it. Big Lex's inaugural season to begin his show would be marred by his poor Wildcats being terrible. And I guess we'll wait to see, and, maybe Mark Pope does okay, and oh my god, we got the ball back, we're so back, baby! Fight for the blue and white! Alright, now let's let Brock cook. Some of the camera angles for this game are a little wonky due to the cameras being remote controlled during the game for cameraman safety, but we are able to see our Cats run up and down the field. The Cats start to purr and Brock starts slinging lasers downfield. And not just that, he's also running the ball. After watching Leary sit in the pocket all last season, this is a breath of fresh air. Good, strong runs and a really nice arm have given me a lot of hope in this game, but he isn't the only one. Demisumo Kangbe rushed for 59 yards in 8 rushes in less than 2.5 quarters. The O-line opened up plenty of gaps for him, and he's quick. And not just that, he's not the only fast one on the field. Berrien Brown returns for his 3rd year in Lexington and wants to show off those speed ratings I have so happily been abusing in College Football 25. He's near untouchable out there on the field. He's running and catching the ball and snagging 2 touchdowns. Jamori Macklin is a 5th-year junior we got off the transfer portal. He started off at Mizzou for 2 years and didn't see much of the field there. He transferred off to the Mean Green in 2022 and he started putting on an absolute show in Denton. Last year, he was 2nd in the American Conference with 11 touchdowns. Coming back to the SEC, he wants to bring the Cats a fight, and that he does. With only 2 receptions, Money Mac comes off with 66 yards for the day. One of those was from the Big Blues 40. Vandegrift spies Jamori way downfield and launches it, and with some great vision, Macklin slows down a bit and catches that baby to get the Cats 10 yards away from the goal line. Dane Key is also putting up some good yards with a 21 and a 35-yard catch. The Cats are running on all cylinders. Sumo is a bullet off the line of scrimmage, and our RB2 freshman Jason Patterson is showing what he can bring the Cats as well. Both of them and Vandegrift all averaged 7 yards per run. Our defense seems just as ready as they did during last year's game opener. JQ Hardaway got his first college interception, and Brock Vandegrift's old Georgia teammate, Jamon Dumas Johnson, also got a pickoff. JJ Weaver and Trevon Ripka both came away getting sacks to put the Golden Eagles' backs against the wall. With all of these elements, it makes sense to see why we were up 24-0 at the end of the half. It was getting exciting, thinking my Cats would be another SEC team to put up 50 points against their opponent this week. The second half turned up the volume with Southern Miss punting after 5 plays and the Cats getting the ball back and Brock making a short pass to Jordan Dingle to make the game 31-0. And then tragedy struck. You remember what I told you about the weather changing in Kentucky just like that? Well, it did again. Lightning near the stadium, and at 11:53 local time, the teams were off the field, and it was announced via mutual agreement the game would be called early, and everyone is free to go over to Stagger or, get delivery from Tally Ho or whatever they're doing now. On paper, the game was very good for the Cats, but watching it, there were a few missteps throughout. That first tipped turnover wasn't pretty. I like Vandegrift a lot, but some of those passes weren't the most accurate. With this being his first college game, you can see he has that physicality and that strength to play the role, and with time, the rest is going to develop, and I think we have a lot to look forward to when it comes to the future of BV12. But we've also got a little bit of penalty trouble. 4 penalties for 45 yards, a holding here, a roughing the passer there. These are things that we got to figure out now as opposed to later. Sure, during a shutout, those are meaningless, but we've got tough games coming up. Rough play like that could really bite us, especially in games against Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee. The SEC is going to be tough this year. It would have been nice to start out with a full 4 quarters against Southern Miss. Let the boys get out all their jitters and nervousness so we can come back in strong against South Carolina next week for our first in-conference play. But overall, a very strong showing for the Cats. Let's check on the rest of the SEC. The SEC gave an absolute thrashing this week. Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Auburn all crushed their opponents over 50 points. Georgia gave Clemson a whooping on national TV, holding them to only a field goal. Carson Beck slung it to kill the Tigers with an almost 70% completion percentage. Vandy barely beat Virginia Tech, missing a game-winning field goal to send them to overtime, which Vandy eventually won. Those sick, demented people down in Alabama decided it'd be fun to pick on our poor Hilltoppers yet again. In the 4 matchups these two teams have had in the last 16 years, Alabama has outscored WKU 177-17. LSU and Texas A&M both lost to ranked opponents on the national stage this week. LSU had one explosive run, but besides that didn't perform with the ball on the ground. Nussmeier looked decent, but I couldn't get over that USC has Homelander under center. Meanwhile, there's hardly anything good to say about A&M. Weigman completed 12 for 30 for 100 yards and threw 2 picks, ejections for targeting 2, an absolutely abysmal day for the Aggies. And hey, Florida looked like they've been drinking their own swamp water because holy moly, they couldn't even compete in their home opener. Now on to next week's preview. South Carolina had played Old Dominion this week. They didn't give the best showing with only 10 points in the second half. Their go-to seems to be running the ball. 56 rushes against Old Dominion, but that isn't the whole story there. Between their main running back Sanders and their QB running the ball, they both averaged less than 4 yards a carry. However, they both ended up with at least one run over 20 yards. Their pass game leaves a lot to be desired, 10 for 23 and no touchdowns through the air, leaving Sanders with a QB rating of 17.7. Old Dominion had more total yards through the day, even while being picked off twice. With all of that, I hope that this next game will be a good setup for the Cats as we brace to play Georgia in 2 weeks.
Hey, feels good to be 1-0 back in Kroger Field. Fan base was pretty exciting. Man, just can't wait to be back with y'all boys next Saturday. Let's go.